Hi, my name's Fire, and today I want to see what the best early game sword actually is. Between the Bouquet of Lies, the FELTHORN Reaper, Shadow Fury, and Giant Sword. These four weapons all cost very different amounts, with the Giant Sword having a clean cost of more than the other three combined. So let's find out whether that makes it better enough to be worth it. First, let's do a quick damage test against hub zombies. The Bouquet of Lies is hitting 89, 82, 87. The FELTHORN Reaper is doing 102, 102, 91, 101, and the Shadow Fury is doing 109, 104, 108, 113. And finally, Giant Sword. This one we're expecting to do a lot more damage. And it does. 131, 119, 137, 129. However, at this stage of the game, you likely won't be using these weapons as single hit options, and rather will be using them for DPS, but we'll get onto that a bit later. But first, let's get into some dungeons. Herbert is cat level 27, and will be using a baby Yeti pet for all of these tests. What I'm expecting to see here is the Giant Sword to have the highest damage per second, and for the Bouquet of Lies to be the best for clearing. Now, one of the most important parts is how well does it perform in the boss room. And personally, I would say that dealt with Livid fairly quickly. Next is the FELTHORN Reaper, with very, very high dungeon stats in comparison to the Bouquet of Lies. However, it's time to see whether these stats make it worth the extra cost or not. Immediately, I can notice that its clearing ability isn't as good. However, its damage to a mini-boss does seem to be better. In the last run, I forgot to hit the record button upon entering the boss room. So, here we are to see how well the FELTHORN Reaper does against Livid. That was fast, and now onto one of the favourites. It seems to be a very popular pick amongst early game players, as I see a lot of people using it. As to why this is, I actually really don't know. Its stats are about the same as the FELTHORN Reaper, and in my opinion, its ability isn't as useful. At least, not early game. Moving into the boss room. That doesn't really affect much, to be honest with you. The Shadow Fury dealt with Livid fairly quickly. Finally, the Giant Sword. The most expensive item on this list, with by far the highest stats. But, can those stats justify the enormous price tag? So far, during the clear, the Giant Sword performed about as well as the Shadow Fury and the FELTHORN Reaper. However, that is to be expected, as it is not a clear weapon. And at no point would I have expected any of the other three weapons to outperform the Bouquet of Lies during clear. In the boss room, it's time to see whether the Giant Sword is truly worth it. Do its stats give it enough extra damage? And I'm willing to say no. Dungeons is not the only part of the game that you need damage in. Thus, I also want to test these weapons on Slayers. Just like in the clear in Dungeons, the Bouquet of Lies is very definitely the best of the bunch when it comes to spawning. However, its DPS is something I'm a little concerned about, considering its low stats. But, that being said, it still seems to perform quite well. And to be honest with you, even if it doesn't win as the best damage weapon, and even if it doesn't win in the damage department, I would still strongly recommend picking up a Bouquet of Lies, just for its clearing potential and its ability to spawn bosses. As expected, the giant sword did very, very well during this test. However, I would like to go back again and just check the Bouquet of Lies one last time. And yes, it is just as I thought. The right-click ability of the Bouquet of Lies is able to make up for its lack of base stats. If I were to rank these weapons, in terms of price, Bouquet of Lies wins easily. In terms of clearing and spawning potential, also the Bouquet of Lies. In terms of raw damage per second, it does have to be the Giant Sword. However, in very close second is the Bouquet of Lies. Using its ability and a healing wand, you can almost keep pace with the Giant Sword's damage. And so, if I had to recommend any sword from this list, it's gotta be the Bouquet of Lies. Especially considering you can get a good Bouquet of Lies for less money than the clean cost of any other sword on this list. Now, if you're worried about bosses that don't take ability damage, then I recommend picking up a FELTHORN as well. And lastly, if you have enjoyed this video, a like is greatly appreciated, and subscribing helps you keep up with all the latest videos that I put out. For now, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.